Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Search with Candour. I am your host, Jack Chambers Ward, and this is the podcast where I interview the best and brightest across SEO, search, AI, and digital marketing. Welcome to a very special episode with two guests this week. I am joined by Liv Ellie and Wraith from Digitaloft, and we're going to talk all about how to take client expertise and turn it into SEO gold. I know this is a big topic for a lot of people working in digital PR, working with clients, working in content as well. And it's a really great conversation. I dig into a lot of what Liv and Ellie are doing day to day to really get some great data from their clients, get great insights, opinions, stories from their clients, and how to repurpose that and share that as content and create some really unique and interesting stuff. And unique is the key word here, arguably. Uncopyable. Interesting, fresh, and unique is exactly what we're looking for when it comes to content and our clients. So that's exactly what we're aiming for this week. Ellie and Liv dive into their strategies and tactics about how to go about this, how to pull insights out of experts and clients who might be a bit more hesitant and a bit more timid and maybe not so interested in sharing their expertise at first. But by the end of this episode, you will know how to get those little golden nuggets of expertise from your clients or your team if you're working in-house as well. Before I get to my conversation with Liv and Ellie, please do go and subscribe on YouTube. We are a Candour agency on YouTube. If you're not already watching us there, there's links for that in the show notes. You can get every single episode every Monday if you subscribe and hit the notification bell. You'll also get notified of any extra videos and bonuses we put up there as well. And of course, you can subscribe and follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that lovely stuff if you want to keep up to date with Search with Candour. If you want to keep up to date with our newsletter, you can go to coreupdates.com. And if you want to check out our very exciting upcoming conference, Search Norwich XL, you can go to searchnorwich.org. Again, I'll put links for everything in the show notes, and you can go and find your tickets there. That's happening on the 24th of September, 2026, right here in Norwich. And tickets are as low as £100 if you use the discount code that is linked in the video description down below. You can get it for less than £100 for a full day with 8 talks and a panel with world-class SEO speakers from around the world. Okay, enough waffling from me. Hopefully you enjoy this week's episode, and I'm joined by Liv Ellie and Ellie Wraith. Let's get into it. I have two special guests joining me this week. First, I have Ellie Wraith, who is the head of search at Digitaloft. Ellie has worked in marketing content for over 8 years, and you may know Ellie from appearances on shows like Search with Sean, SEO Stream, and Loft Talk. Ellie, welcome to Search with Candour.
Thank you so much for having me, Jack. Yeah, it's great to be here. Just a quick intro about myself, in case anybody hasn't seen any of those appearances before, which is entirely possible. As Jack said, I've got about 8 years of experience working both in-house and agency side in marketing and search marketing. So I understand the challenges on both sides of the table, especially in relation to kind of how we are best placed to liaise with the experts we have at our disposal. Work really close with Liv as well here at Digitaloft, and super excited to be talking about what we've got on the cards today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the little introduction there. And of course, second but not least, Liv Day is the client partner at Digitaloft. Liv has worked in marketing for well over 6 years. You may know Liv from speaking at events such as Brighton SEO or Digital Marketing Europe or the Digital PR Summit, as well as appearances on shows like Rank Up and the aforementioned Search with Sean. Liv, welcome to Search with Candour.
Thank you so much for having
Good old
me.
Sean.
Yeah, we've all been on Search with Sean.
Yeah,
Search with Sean fans. So we love Sean. But yeah, my name is Liv. I'm a client partner, so I am very much the hands-on day-to-day of not all of the SEO account management. That'd be quite a job. A lot of the SEO account management here at the agency. So Ellie gets kind of stuck into all of the industry news, all of the managing the team, keeping us all in shape, and I get to
amazing. I think it's going to be a really interesting topic for us to discuss. I appreciate you guys pitching something that I think a lot of us agency side think about and talk about. Obviously, it is tricky times in the industry at the moment, but I think it's going to be a really interesting topic. We're going to talk about how to turn client expertise into content that those competitors can't copy. And I think this is a particularly interesting conversation at the moment, since so many people are talking about link building coming back and digital PR and all this kind of stuff. And I know obviously you guys at Digitaloft have a lot of experience with this. So I guess I will kind of start things off, and Liv, I'll come to you first. Why do you think this is a topic we should be talking about right now in the industry?
I think it's definitely a topic we should be talking about right now, but I also don't think it's anything brand new. I did a talk on this at Sheffield DM, I want to say about 3 years ago, and it was about getting client expertise to create unique insights, whether it's for SEO, whether it's for digital PR. So definitely not something new, and I think something that good SEOs have been doing for quite a while now. But I think now that we're in the AI era, I'll just get that first mention out of the way of the podcast. I'm sure we'll have plenty more. But now we've got this AI era that we find ourselves in, it is a million times more important. I feel like AI has completely commoditized that generic informational content. I think anyone can write a half decent blog post or bit of informational content about anything. I think I could go out there and get ChatGPT to help me write something on a topic I've literally not ever heard of before, and that would be okay. But it's consensus content, and it's a consensus of everything else that is already on the internet, and there's no incentive for Google, for ChatGPT, for whatever other algorithm we're looking at to surface that kind of content, and really it's adding no value to users. And I think everything that we talk about when it comes to this kind of uncopyable content boils down to some of the principles that we've had in SEO for so many years of add genuine value, give information that's not just kind of formulating what's already been there. Even like when you go back to sort of the early SEO days of like the skyscraper method of just have what was there and make it a bit better. It's the better extension of that, of look at what there already is and what net new knowledge can you add to the conversation. And that's what's going to help from an SEO perspective, get you ranking, get you appearing in AI search, because there is that incentive. But it's also what's going to genuinely help users, anyone who's on your site, to actually take insights. And from our experience, this really kind of net new knowledge is what snowballs and what makes content go really, really well. So we'll publish something that has that real kind of insider knowledge that we're like, actually, no one's talking about this online. No one's mentioning this. And that's when you see such great results, because people are paying attention to it, and it gets traffic and it gets results. It gets shared organically. It gets kind of digital PR outreach opportunities as well.
Ellie, how about from your perspective?
Very, very
do you think
valuable.
this is something more people need to be thinking about, especially as we're thinking about it from an agency perspective as well?
Absolutely. And I think more people should be thinking about it. More people should be, and even if they are thinking about it, recognizing how important it is, especially when, the explicit guidance from Google now states, it includes the phrase non-commodity content. It encourages publishers to kind of go above and beyond to include unique, original, expert-led material that kind of surpasses what's defined as common baseline knowledge. And it warns against anybody that's kind of creating content that doesn't add genuine value. We're all kind of, the baseline, what used to be, I think, the kind of the gold standard, writing something that is well put together, something that's factually correct. That used to be the kind of the level we were aspiring to. That's now the baseline. Kind of the standard has been raised so much, and what's now, as Liv very rightly said, what's now achievable by absolutely anybody. I think my grandma could write an article on topic X, Y, or Z, given half an hour and a refresher on how a keyboard works. The fact that the playing field has been leveled so much with AI, we just have to think outside the box to discover new ways to bring in things that are genuinely new, genuinely interesting, genuinely adding to a discussion that is already quite saturated, building on the concept of information gain, not just kind of replicating what's already there, but adding new things to the mix as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting kind of perspective you both touched on. I think Ellie, you mentioned information gain there, and Liv, you mentioned bringing value. How do you guys go about actually measuring that when it comes to discussing content with new clients? How do you actually measure that value, or get an idea of what the, I guess, percentage of information gain, what new information you're giving with content?
Okay. So
who wants to go first? Ellie, I'll let
I
you
don't
take it
necessarily
away.
think you can put a number on it. I wouldn't say there's a kind of defined percentage of new information that has to be in a piece. Ultimately, what we're all trying to do in SEO, in content, is provide the best possible answer to a given problem and present it in the most efficient, accessible way. That doesn't mean there's a specific percentage of new information that has to be included within a particular piece of content. But what we will find, especially when we're working with clients who have subject matter experts on a given topic, that whatever answer we can kind of put together, the kind of that responds to the question, that satisfies the user's intent, that gives them kind of broadly the information they need. There's always going to be personal experience, kind of hands-on examples, or kind of lived insights that we can bring in that are going to take it beyond what the general kind of the baseline answer is. So I wouldn't say it's something that we can measure. It's about, once we've finished a piece of content, once we've incorporated new, genuinely valuable information, can we confidently, credibly sit there and say, this piece of content now answers this question in the most comprehensive, efficient, accessible way? If the answer is no, then we go back to the drawing board. If the answer is yes, then perfect.
Yeah, and I think you can fit it into workflows in different ways as well. So it might be that you think of a topic comes to mind through like a conversation with a client, and you go, actually, I don't think anyone's talking about this online, and the article itself is going to be net new information because no one's talking about it. In which case, that's kind of your answer. But otherwise, if it's you're thinking, oh, we've seen competitor do sort of information around kind of X, Y, Z, and actually we've got something to add to this conversation here. We're going to do something on a similar topic, but better. It's something that we can work into our planning process. So when we brief our content team, we can go, here is what is currently ranking, and give that real analysis of it, of here's what they do well, here's actually what we think they're missing, and here's what expertise we have. And I think part of our job in the roles that Ellie and I have is bridging the gap between our clients and the content writers. Like our content writers at Digitaloft will have access to our clients to ask them questions if they want. And I had a client conversation yesterday where they said, we want your content writers to ask as many questions as possible during this process. Like, it's a fairly new client, and they said, you're not going to be absolute experts in this industry. There's loads of us on our side. Put them in a Slack channel, just get them to ask away. As they're going through that writing process, we can just add in little bits of information, because if they're not asking those questions, where are they getting that new information from?
Yeah.
Like, from an agency perspective, we're not expected to have every single answer to that brand new information for every single industry. So it's that continual kind of conversation and communication, and going into a piece of content knowing that you have that objective to add something really new to the conversation, and knowing in advance.
Yeah. In fact,
when
this
insight would be really, really
sorry
good.
to interrupt you there, just on the back of what Liv was saying, something that we have as a standard working practice is checklists when we're writing content. As teams grow, as we expand across a wider range of clients and content types, standardization, quality checking becomes harder. It naturally does. So kind of checklisting different steps is something that works really well for us. And actually, on checklists, something that we have is, does this piece of content the writer has to go through and answer before they share for approval? Does this add something new to the conversation? They need to actually fold that into their process, their writing process, their research process, and make sure that whenever they are producing content, it's going beyond what's already out there. And when it's published on the client site, it's unequivocally the client's content, because it includes information, insights, expertise that is owned by them and them alone.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point to kind of jump off there. Liv, you mentioned that conversations with clients, which I think is something we should all be doing more of, for the record. How do you balance that compared to a more traditional sort of topical research or keyword research kind of thing? Is it, I'm almost picturing it almost like anti-topic research, like, oh, that's already been covered. We know the competitors already talk about that potentially. Do you have those kind of conversations where you're trying to sort of counterbalance client conversations with what is being talked about? Or is it a case of, you know, avoiding trends necessarily? What's your approach to that, Liv?
I think there's obviously the balance there, because there's an element to which if something's trending or you think that something's going to begin trending, you absolutely want to lean into it. But yeah, it's funny you mentioned, I feel like I'm doing less and less keyword research, as every time I start kind of a new client strategy, I'm still love you, SEMrush, but turning to it less and less, because
We're not the
there's
BBC
other tools are available. The amount of industries that we work, the amount of industries where we work in where actually there's really like next to no search volume for any of these terms, but they're actually so incredibly valuable. And how else am I going to get them? There's obviously plenty of tools, but the most valuable thing is that kind of a conversation. So I think I'm also a big advocate for as many conversations as possible, and not just having access to kind of like one or two people on a client side, but who are those wider subject matter experts, whether it is, I've had conversation with engineers, product designers, people on the ground, and trying to get a digital PR expert comment from someone and going, actually, that person's not available because they're in a quarry right now. Like that kind of level of expertise, and getting that person on a call. Obviously, people are very time poor. So arranging kind of like a half-hour interview, recording it, and asking those kind of questions of, what do you think no one is talking about in your industry right now that you think is really important? Like, what are the most common conversations? If there's someone that's like customer or client facing, what are the most common conversations or pain points or questions that you have? Is there something that's going on in your industry that is kind of common practice that you actually really disagree with? Like, if you got a bit of a slightly controversial opinion, is there anything that everyone else is doing and you actually think it's a bit rubbish? There's a whole kind of list of slightly fun leading questions that you can ask to get so many more content ideas that are actually really, really relevant to the target audience, that keyword research probably isn't going to show up, particularly if it is a niche industry. And some of those questions, like, what do you actually think now? Like, what should everyone be talking more about? What do you think your competitors aren't doing very well? Like, what are they missing? And where's that opportunity for us to really capitalize as such a valuable,
I often find I've had this experience before where you want to go for that approach, but some clients are hesitant to either put their name behind words and kind of put themselves out there. And I've also had, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, I had a very guarded client who was convinced that everything they did was like a top secret industry specific thing. I was like, I don't think it is. Like, I can see what you do on your website. They were working sort of like like wedding decorations and like dried flowers and stuff like that. And I wanted to discuss the process of like, how do you dry the flowers? What's your selection process? Like, oh, it's all very top secret kind of thing. I was like, I don't think it is. It's been happening for like thousands of years. I think people know how to dry flowers. But have you experienced that kind of more timid, more reserved client, and how do you go about convincing them, I guess, to say this is actually going to bring value to your brand? Ellie, have you had those kind of experiences with some clients before?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's usually an education piece. It's about kind of recognizing their reservations, because they are valid, especially, you know, if they've worked really hard to build some proprietary data. They've worked really hard to, you know, to get to the point they're at. They don't want to share it freely with all their competitors to see. But it's an education piece about explaining the rationale behind why we want to and need to do this as search continues to evolve, and giving them confidence about how we're going to do it as well. About kind of giving them examples of things we've done previously, and kind of work examples of how we've folded their insights or kind of similar insights into content for clients, either in similar spaces or in kind of working with similar business types, and then showing them the impact of doing that. It's well and good asking people to trust you with no evidence, but then as soon as you can start bringing in actually this is the reason why, this is the evidence, that reason why we need to do this. This is our hypothesis behind why we think it's going to be really great for your business in terms of visibility. This is kind of where we see it having an impact, not just on kind of traffic and rankings, but on actually the overall topical authority of your site and your reputation as a brand with your target audience. And these are examples of how we've executed it previously. This isn't a fixed model of how we work. We can tailor it to kind of any guardrails you have as a business, but let's work together and try and figure out a way to meet in the middle if you are particularly cautious about doing this, so that we can extract the information that we need to be able to showcase to position your brand as the go-to expert on this issue, while kind of protecting what you've built and making sure that we're doing it safely and within what you feel comfortable doing. Because typically when we start a project like this, it can take a while for kind of, especially more reserved, more timid, like you say, contributors to feel confident in what they're doing. So kind of building it up and showing them, not just like launching in full steam ahead, just kind of building it up and showing them piece by piece. This is what we're going to do. This is how we do it. This is an example of what we've done, and then kind of going more gradually and building up gradually whilst they gain confidence as well. Yes.
I also really just like to lean into someone's ego. Like you said, Ellie, just go like, what can I give this person? Because Jack, it's happened really often for us, and for some industries, like we have it quite a lot. If we're working in finance, it's completely understandable. If someone is going, I don't want a comment to be attributed to me, and then that gets the FCA come crashing down on it, and it reflects badly on the brand, it reflects badly on me. That's a whole legal nightmare. You completely get it, and like Ellie said, you can sort of be really clear what the processes are, and nothing's going to go without your sign off and things like that. But I also do like trying to sort of butter someone up a little bit, and we've had a couple of clients where we've gone, like we make people famous. We've made little celebrities out of your internal experts, and they then have a bit of a giggle and they're like, oh, who's going to be the funniest person that we can pick as a spokesperson who will actually really enjoy leaning into being an expert and getting coverage on kind of some of the glossy publications. Like we worked with the Christmas tree brand, and a good few years ago, Kim Kardashian had a Christmas tree in her bathroom. We did some expert commentary around Kim Kardashian's Christmas tree, and it was one of one of our client contacts is sort of a product expert. He was in so many huge publications talking about Kim Kardashian's Christmas tree, and it became the biggest talking point of our sort of end of year review. Is and we've made this guy Kim Kardashian expert, and he absolutely reveled in it and found it hilarious, and apparently told all of his friends and family, and they also thought it was hilarious. We've got client experts who share the coverage that we get on their personal TikToks because it's helping their personal brand. So getting to know those experts a little bit, kind of thinking what they might react well to, react less well to. But if you can pick someone who you can really kind of like tap in and get excited about the brand that you can build for them, then it can sort of mitigate.
I've got a title for the episode that is Kim K's Christmas Consultant. Just like, there you go. How to create. Boo.
Yeah.
Boo.
She never got in touch. I was fuming.
Try it again. There you go.
Maybe this Christmas.
Bring it back again this
Yeah.
Christmas. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Christmas.
Just to do all the
But like
Ks,
Christmas
just
with a K.
keep it very alliterative. You mentioned there, Liv, the nature of having a expert who has an opinion or being potentially controversial. Is that kind of a typical approach, or is it more that you're thinking about who might be best? Like you said there, do you pick somebody in the team who is a bit more charismatic potentially, or is it more trying to find something that might just be a stronger opinion or a unique opinion or potentially controversial to stir up some trouble in the industry?
I think it completely depends on the industry. I think controversial opinions are fun, but it's definitely not a necessity. Like I said, like we work with businesses in finance. I don't really think that there are many controversial opinions to have in finance, and if you are presenting them publicly, they're probably not going to go down very well with the FCA. And likewise, we have a lot of clients where we do expert commentary that are in the medical space, and their expert commentary is coming from a doctor. Again, not someone who I really think should be having controversial opinions. Not great for the brand, not great for them either. But I think it can absolutely vary. I think the question that I mentioned before of kind of what is one bit of sort of advice or something that's commonplace in your industry that you disagree with is a really nice way to sort of an entry into some of that slightly more kind of controversial or stronger opinions. But overall, I don't think you do need to be super controversial, even though
I think it's often the case where, like you said, you could potentially, I've experienced before where I'm having a chat with a client and I think, I probably can't publish that one, but sure, thank you for letting me know. maybe we'll keep that one on the side, so we'll just leave that in the transcript. Let's not worry about that one.
It's when they tell you. I've had clients that give me like dirt on their competitors, and
probably shouldn't.
Could publish this. Could also get in a lot of trouble. Probably shouldn't. But I've heard them say like, "Oh yeah, I know that." In like really heavily regulated spaces, being like, "Oh yeah, someone else on our team used to work at this competitor, and I know that they cut corners doing X, Y, Z." You're like,
you end up becoming a whistleblower for that industry.
If I quit
Full-time
SEO to become
exactly.
a whistleblower, you know why.
You mentioned earlier we kind of joked about the celebrity status of somebody who really does get picked up in the media and things like that. I think that is often a conversation that happens from, say, for example, you're going to more members of the team rather than just some of the main points of contact. How do you balance that growth of a personal brand? So, say, for example, one of the experts in the team versus the brand authority as a whole. Do you have a particular approach for that, or do you think it's a bit more cohesive than we might first suspect? Ellie, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that honestly, the two are totally interrelated. I don't think you can build one without the other. The individual is associated with the brand by default. We're working on behalf of the brand, not the individual, and the kind of the uplift and visibility that they might enjoy is a secondary effect of the work that we're doing for the business. I don't see it as a question of either or when it's individuals versus brands. The individual is who we're using to create that sense of trust, to kind of create that, have that accountability and kind of be relatable at a personal level, because people trust people. But then the brand also benefits because they bring that kind of bigger recognition. They bring the kind of the sense of credibility to the whole dynamic. I don't really, and Liv, you might have a slightly different stance on it, but I definitely don't see it as one or the other, and kind of prioritizing one over the other. They both kind of contribute to each other naturally as we use individual experts to help build the presence of a brand online, whether it's kind of natively within the brand's website, within kind of their owned assets, or in third-party assets as well, kind of in the media. It's about picking the right expert to tell the right story in the right place to the right people. Jack, you just said there about it's not always kind of the highest profile people within a business that we might want to select. And I know, Liv, you've got like really great experience working hands-on with that as well, across much more kind of granular levels within a business, picking product experts, picking kind of customer service experts, people that have the actual relevant hands-on knowledge that make them a genuine expert in what we're asking them to comment on, rather than just the face of the brand, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely agree. And I think personal brands are really, really having a moment right now. I feel like if you'd asked us this 5 years ago, we'd probably have been like, no, you don't really need personal brands. If you're working for like a massive, massive business, the people don't massively matter. But like Ellie said, it's like marketing 101 of like people buy from people. And you see it so much now. Like, I don't know if you've seen M&S have made an absolute celebrity out of she's called Catherine Turner. Love her to bits. She's their director of product development. She's got nearly 100,000 followers because she's been for M&S since before. She's worked with M&S since before I was born. She's been there well over 30 years, probably bumbling about her career, doing product development, having a great time, going completely unnoticed. And then someone in the M&S marketing team, probably only a couple of months ago, thought, she's a lovely woman, but she's a completely ordinary member of the team. Everyone's loving the M&S product development and everything new that they're coming out with. Get the woman on TikTok and she's become an absolute sensation. And it's, I think, adding so much more to M&S as a brand to have a real kind of profile. Not only do customers really, really love the chocolate and pistachio dip that we've come out with, but they want to know the story behind it, the person who created it, the idea that it came from in the boardroom, and that's how they've bridged that gap. And people are even more invested in product development now because they're like, oh, what's Catherine coming up with next? So I think it's such a fun case study. I think they're absolutely, it's just been like a little stroke of genius. I think they're smashing it. But people are really invested in personal brands, I think, more than they ever have been. I think if you'd have tried that maybe 5 years ago, it would have come across a little bit contrived, a bit try hard, but it's something about the era that we're in now of people really, really appreciating the getting to know people, even behind a brand that is as
then that
big
personal brand is still inherently connected to the brand itself. The two are still telling the same story, just in different ways.
She's yeah. She's not allowed to leave.
Yeah, they just keep her in the building. They just lock her up at night and then come back and shoot some more content the next morning. Yeah.
Do you think that you mentioned there the people want to buy from people or hear from people, learn from people? Do you think that is even more true now because of the unending glut of AI generated content? I guess I'm asking a very leading question there. But for me, thinking, creating things like this, doing videos and podcasts and the kind of content where you literally hear or see somebody compared to a piece of text, have you found there has been more of a trend in that way towards, like you said, literally putting a face and a name to things rather than just a piece of text? Ellie, have you experienced that kind of, and again, have you been able to convince clients to, I guess, get on camera as well?
To answer the first part of your question, for me, it all comes down to this kind of huge trust void we're all in. Kind of ownership, authorship, everything is just being kind of under the microscope more than ever before. The credibility of one person saying, or one page saying something online has never been scrutinized more than it is right now. And being able to put faces to things and being able to bring verified perspectives on issues that's why they're having so much value at the minute, because people are questioning everything they're reading. They are questioning where it's come from. They are questioning whether they can rely on it, whether they can trust what they're reading online. And when it's associated with a specific individual who can, whose profile is clearly built out as having the experience and kind of hands-on expertise to back up what they're saying, everything all kind of immediately becomes that bit more believable. Which, I think is why there's such an appetite for it at the minute, and people automatically kind of gravitate towards anything that feels authentic in that way, authentic, original, like that. In terms of getting clients on camera, that is it's a tricky one. I don't think you can ever. Somebody that doesn't want to be on camera doesn't want to be on camera, and I think no matter whatever argument you put to them about how kind of the benefits of doing it, ultimately, if they don't want to do it, it's probably a battle not worth fighting. I don't know what you think on this one, Liv. That said, we do have clients that do produce video content that are kind of and that do really successfully produce video content to share on their own website and across socials as well. And kind of where they are producing content for kind of one platform, it's about having that conversation from a website content point of view, from a search visibility point of view, about, because video content creation is a barrier. There's so many obstacles there. It's time heavy. It's expensive, depending on how you do it. If you want to kind of get professional video content, it's difficult. It's difficult to produce. So when, if a client is choosing to invest in it, having that conversation with them and going, well, is there a way that we can produce this so that it can be repurposed across as many platforms as possible? Let's squeeze every bit of value out of what you're doing so that you've got all of this kind of personal content that can be used across this channel, but we can also chop it up and actually use it across your website, across your landing pages as well, just to make sure it's working as hard as possible.
Yeah, I think our digital PR team have been having to work 10 times harder than perhaps they used to prove that our clients are real people. We, at Digital PR Summit this year, had the team from Press Gazette in to talk about their big expose that they did of all of the fake AI experts that are out there. And our journalist panel talked about the fact that they've got their editors on their backs of, if you publish something that has a fake expert in, that's your neck on the line. So you completely get, they're not just being picky for the sake of it. They've got someone on top of them making sure that they're not publishing kind of AI expertise. But we've had to have conversations with clients to say, do you mind updating your LinkedIn? Because we're trying to pitch a bit of expert commentary from you. We know you're a real person. The journalist on the other end of the email also thinks you're a real person, but is having to do their extra bit of due diligence, is checking your LinkedIn, which you've not updated since 2023, and it says you are in a different job role than you are in now. So can you just go ahead and update your LinkedIn? Which, from the client's perspective, they're thinking that's a bit mental, but it is, I think, just a sign of the times that we're in right now. But at least a couple of times a week, we're getting emails going, oh, can this client just jump on a quick call to discuss this? We want headshots, we want LinkedIn, we need something to prove that they're a real person, which is quite depressing to think about. But we get it as well, even from us from an agency side. Like, we get conversations at pitch stage of, how can you prove to us that you are not real people, but it's going to be real people doing this SEO work? Like, I want to see the content writers, that I need to know that you're not just writing my content through ChatGPT. If I'm making an investment, I need to know it's a real people on the other end. That's you're not just sort of going to hand me off to an AI who's going to.
I think that's a real
do the rest of it.
issue. You mentioned the fake experts, but also plenty of people in our industry, especially agency side, are doing that kind of Oh yeah, I totally have a team of 10 professional experts working with me who are going to write your content. Just to quickly ask Claude or ChatGPT or whatever, like type away. Like, yeah, quite sneaky stuff going on. I think you're right. So, Ellie, you mentioned the ability to kind of transform that content and take it from, the initial interview potentially into a video, into website content and things like that. Do you have a particular approach to how you kind of tailor that content to those different formats? Like from my experience, taking a podcast episode and then thinking about social media versus a Candour blog post on a website or anything like that, there's always a slight adjustment you need to make. Do you have kind of workflows or techniques for kind of reformatting and recontextualizing client codes in that way?
Client video content.
Anything really,
anything.
yeah. I guess if they are doing video content or written content or a bit of both.
Yeah. It starts with the page. So we work across client websites. That's our bread and butter. So we look at what a website needs to do and what the individual pages on that website need to do. Ultimately, whatever content is on that page, whether it's imagery, whether it's written content, whether it's reviews, whether it's video, all of that content needs to serve a specific purpose to that page. It needs to be the means to an end for what that page is trying to achieve. So when we talk about repurposing content, whether it's an interview, whether it's a transcript from a podcast, whether we can, extract quotes from there and fold them into a commercial landing page, offering kind of buying advice for a particular product category, whether it is video content that we have access to, that we can request they chop up and give us kind of a 30-second product summary as part of a bigger category walkthrough. It's about thinking, okay, what is the goal of this page? What is it trying to do? What action do we want this person to take when they are on this page? And what assets can we pull together to make that as likely as possible? So I wouldn't say it's kind of there's any specific workflow. It's just having that end goal in mind, work, and always kind of whatever levers you pull, whatever resources you're using, making sure that each one contributes to that.
Anyway, as we were.
We've talked about some opinions and things like that. And I think that is often, a good way to create that original uncopyable content, as we mentioned. For me, it can come down to a lot of the kind of data that you have to support that as well, right? And I know our digital PR team here often works with a lot of, creating new insights or reports from data and things like that. Are there any particular ways of getting that sort of unique data or insights, whether it's internal data or external data or whatever it is? Ellie, how do you kind of approach that, I guess, sourcing the data and finding it and being able to then gather insights around it?
A really big part of that is at the onboarding stage. If we appreciate the value of proprietary data, we know how many conversations it can unlock, how many different types of content we can spin from having access to sales data, from customer service transcripts, from performance data. All and kind of making sure that the client is, as soon as we start working with them, make sure that they understand the value that this holds, and asking what they'd be willing to share with us, and in what formats. Just having those conversations, really transparent conversations as early as possible, making sure they understand what we would want to do with it, what guardrails we can put in place, so that we use it safely and within the limits that they're comfortable with, and establish ways of accessing it as well, because every client stores data differently. Every client stores different types of data, And every client has different people and different roles responsible for keeping that up to date. So just having those conversations, finding out how they manage it, how they use it, and how they might be able to share it with us, and getting hold of it as early as possible as well, because actually seeing it firsthand could unlock lots of different ideas. Work so that in a way you're kind of working backwards from the data rather than having an idea and trying to find the data to make it possible. Getting visibility over it right at the outset can help shape the strategy that we put together. It can, if we're working on PR, it can open up so many different ideas for reactive to the campaigns that we might be able to do. So getting your hands and eyes on it at the outset would be my biggest tip for making it work as hard as possible.
Yeah, and I think having the clarity at the outset with every stakeholder that needs to be involved, because Jack, I'm probably sure you've had the same, but you've had conversations at a pitch stage of, yeah, you'll be able to use our internal data. Yeah, that'll be fine. Like, we can let you have whatever information you need. And then either we try and access that data and someone in legal is like, nope, absolutely not. Or we get access to the data, package it up, and just as we're about to set something live, someone from the brand team, it's usually the brand team, get their eyes on it and they go, no, absolutely not. So I think one thing that we've learned is knowing who's going to be involved in kind of every step of the process. Not every brand will have that first party data as well. You can always make new information. Definitely a big fan of a survey, particularly if you've got customers. We've got clients who will say, look, we've got 50,000 people on an email database and we can, like, tens of thousands of followers across social, we can get a survey out very, very easily. And with that kind of information, you know that you're going to have a representative sample and you can really tailor to the kind of information that you might be looking to see. And likewise, we have a client who every year commissions a massive survey, and they'll do it every year. So we just had a meeting with their survey agency. They've got kind of product information that we want to see and they want to see, and we will kind of come in from the SEO and PR perspective and be like, oh, actually, can you ask that question, because that could make a really amazing story. So understanding what someone is doing already in terms of data, but otherwise, even without first party data, there's so many different sources out there that can really make you a lot more interesting than the competition.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a really good way of framing it. And since we're on the topic of data, I'll give our last question before we get into our recommendation section. How do you measure success for a client's content, whether that's long-term campaigns, individual pieces? What is actually the kind of things you are discussing with clients when it comes to reporting success and things like that? Ellie, what are those kind of conversations? What metrics do you think we should be leaning on as an industry?
So as an agency and as professionals working in search, we are entirely of the opinion that vanity metrics, so rankings, impressions, even traffic to an extent, does not matter. It's not what businesses want. They might say they want it, but ultimately, at the end of the day, businesses are looking for a return on their investment. They're investing in SEO, they're investing in PR, they are investing in content marketing to earn money. They want to grow as a business, and this is the medium through which they're choosing to do it. So when we report fundamentally on the bottom line impact that our work is doing. If we publish a series of new landing pages and we've chosen to approach those with the mindset of clear information gain, we're bringing in in-house expertise to really add value to these pages, and across this page set, we've seen an uplift in traffic that's then translated into a increase in organic conversions of XYZ%. That's what we want to be talking about. We want to be translating all of the tactical measures we're taking into the actual impact it's having on the business itself.
And I think to add to that as well, I can take the slightly softer side of you want to know as well that if you're having sort of an individual impact, there is a fair bit of distance between maybe introducing expert commentary for the first time if you're working with a brand. If we work with a business who have had a lot of SEO and digital PR agencies before, but have never managed to even get sign off on a spokesperson, and we've just about managed to get that over the line. So that's a small win. Like Ellie said, not going to pay the bills. Us getting one of their members of the team on board is probably not going to pay the bills, and it's not going to make the CFO see our retainer as a return on investment, but it's still a nice measure of progress. When it comes to particularly digital PR, where we really have that focus on expert commentary and expert insights, we break everything down into some of those sort of what we call softer KPIs of the percentage of coverage that includes a spokesperson. And we can go a bit deeper into some of those outreach metrics of, okay, well, how well does our kind of outreach that features insights from a spokesperson, how does that perform versus kind of anything that's just sort of generically put against the business? And we can then use that as a bit of a business case to build up, well, actually, it performs 3 times as well when we're going to a journalist with a spokesperson. Let's do more of that, because then it's going to get us more coverage, which is going to lead to all of those things, which eventually build up to revenue as well. So there's definitely those small attraction metrics along the way, and also understanding what the client's goal is from the outset. Like, we will have projects that we work on where the sole focus is someone wants to increase AI visibility and AI kind of awareness of a brand, of a person. So being able to actually measure that and say, well, ChatGPT didn't really have much of a clue on that we had this area of expertise before. Now, because of this work that we've done, it's recommending us and it understands us so much more. And again, it's going to roll up into that return on investment that you want.
For sure. Let's wrap up with some recommendations then, shall we? And Ellie, I'll come to you first. What is one actionable tip you can recommend for everyone to start doing today?
I would say think about what your growth priorities are. It's easy to get overwhelmed with, especially if it's a really big site, about all the different things that could be done to drive growth. But actually, when you look at what's going to make the biggest impact on a bottom line, where do those opportunities sit, and how can we best capitalize them? If we're thinking about, reaching out to a client and asking for them to contribute expertise across a particular product category, which one converts best? And kind of, if we're asking them to invest their time, their effort in providing these insights for us, how can we make that work as hard as possible from a business point of view?
Nice. Liv, how about you? What is an actionable tip you recommend for our listeners and viewers?
I think I sort of hinted at it before and we discussed it a little bit, but ask more questions. I'm such a curious little person. I will always put time into sort of like client call agendas, like the first 10 minutes. I feel like a client call can often just be, I turn up, I say what I'm working on, I say what the results are, they say cool, I say bye. But it can be so much more than that. So I want to dedicate the first 10 minutes to, how is business going? What's changed since we last spoke? What's going on in your industry? Any news about your competitors? Oh, I actually saw this competitor's making a load of redundancies. What does that say about your market? Like, what's going new in product development? I just have like a list of questions that I'll sort of pick and choose from, get that bit of a conversation going, because those are kind of the places where I get the best sort of insights, I think, where the people that I work with on a client side don't realize how much expertise they have. Like someone said to me something the other day of, oh, well, we've got 2 kind of main product categories. This one's actually a real pain in the arse to shift, because logistically it's really difficult to assemble. It costs 3 times more to ship it. It's about the same kind of price, but it's a real pain. We're kind of wondering if we discontinue it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Wish you'd have told me that a couple of weeks ago, because I've put a whole strategy together about it. But that's a really helpful insight to have that they perhaps didn't even think was worth me knowing. And I was like, no, I've got such a clear idea now of where I prioritize my efforts, where I focus. I think really understanding how businesses work, how your client's business makes money, which seems like such a basic thing, but all of the different elements that go into that, and just keep being curious.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Next up, a tool, piece of software, anything like that you think deserves a bit more attention. Liv, I'll come back to you first.
See, I wrote this down and realised it was such a cop-out because it is neither a tool nor a software. I love, like we've said, getting that first-party data from clients, specifically customer service data. So we onboarded a new client, I think a month or two ago, and I said, if you've got any kind of customer service data that you can use, they said, oh yeah, we've got about like 2-3 years worth of customer service, like call transcripts that we've just kept behind. Like, is that useful? And I was just there like, yes, it's probably the most useful thing you could ever give me. So I'm very much a believer of, I think a tool will only ever take you so far, but you're obviously then using tools that have got all of that information, put it all through AI. That is where AI is the most helpful. Scraped it for themes, common questions, things we don't answer on our website currently, big challenges, pain points, things they love about the brand. And that's given me content ideas for I don't know how many months.
Awesome. Ellie, how about you? Tool, piece of software, something you recommend that people should be checking out?
Yeah, kind of similar to Liv in terms of getting insights that are an absolute goldmine for content ideas. A tool that I would recommend anybody, is it a tool? A site? Reddit. I would recommend anybody just check out Reddit. It's easy access, direct access to real people, broadly. There is a bit of a bot problem on Reddit, but generally real communities, relevant communities that are discussing things that are annoying them about a service that you might offer, things that they wish a service would offer but doesn't, kind of things that they've experienced that have caused them problems. And, you can use AI to scrape that as well. And analyze, pick out key themes there, use it to build out kind of unique FAQ sections on a site that competitors aren't answering because it's not something that's listed in a people also ask response. It's not something that is explicitly listed as a related question on a SERP feature. Using those unique insights from actual people who might be your customer and answering those questions, kind of reverse engineering it and kind of figuring out what questions they want answers to, and kind of folding those into the most relevant page on your site.
Nice. Last but not least, something fun you've been enjoying recently. No SEO, no marketing, no nothing like that. Getting some fun things. Ellie, I'll come to you first. What have you been enjoying recently?
Great question. I have recently been on a bit of a series binge, and I think Apple TV is doing some of the best TV shows at the minute. Yeah, some real high quality stuff on Apple TV. I rate them very much. And there is a pretty new series called Widow's Bay, which markets itself as cozy horror. And that's exactly what it is. It's funny, it's spooky, there's great acting, it's got a wild storyline, it's nominated for like 19 Emmys or something ridiculous, and it's just been recommissioned for season 2. So watch season 1 now. It's an absolute wild ride and you can do it in a weekend. I would highly recommend.
Amazing. Yeah, Apple TV is just full of like absolute gems. It's crazy.
It is,
the quality of consistent quality of their shows is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Liv, what have you been enjoying recently?
See, I've never been an Apple TV person, so maybe you're just giving the think about all the things that I now have available to watch if I'm now influenced.
Honestly, mate, the bang for your buck is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a subscription that I do not regret month on month. Yeah.
I love that. What have I enjoyed? I've enjoyed just this nice summer of music. I feel like a lot of people I know, myself included, I feel like I've been to a gig or festival most weekends of the summer, and I am really not mad about it. I've had a lot of good summer festivals, and I feel like just being out and about with live music. I've actually had sunny weather. The amount of times I've been at a festival in the rain, crying and wondering what I'm doing, why I'm hoping my tent doesn't blow away. I'm very much enjoying a summer of good music, plenty of good gigs. My Chemical Romance has been the highlight of the summer so far, but still more to go. So we'll report back at the end of the summer.
Amazing. Thank you so much both for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure to finally catch up and chat. Ellie, where can people follow you and keep up to date with everything you're doing in SEO marketing?
You can follow me on LinkedIn. That's my primary channel. I post on there about everything in content, things that are happening in search. And I'd love to connect with anybody that wants to chat about those things in more detail.
Nice. And Liv, how about you? How can people follow you?
Same again. I'm on LinkedIn mainly. I was such a Twitter person until it became X, and now I'm just kind of I'm still there. I'm just kind of lurking. So people are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter. But I don't know what insights they're gonna get. But yeah, mainly LinkedIn as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Folks, go and follow Liv and Ellie, and you can go to digitaloft.co.uk and go and check out the agency there as well. I'll put links for everything we've talked about in the show notes down below. Thank you, Liv and Ellie, for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Amazing. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
And that wraps up this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Liv and Ellie as much as I did. And go and check them out. Go and follow them on LinkedIn. Like I said, links for all of that will be in the show notes down below. You can go and check out Digitaloft and what they're doing. I know they run some great events like Digital PR Summit every year as well, so you can go and check those guys out. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for watching or listening. Let me know where you're watching or listening from. I'm intrigued. I know I get the stats from Spotify and some of the stats from YouTube, but let me know where you're watching or where you're listening from. I know we have a pretty global audience, but I'd love to hear from you about where you're from, where you're listening from, and what you're doing. Is this kind of a commute kind of podcast? Is this kind of a at work kind of podcast? Let me know what you're doing while you're listening and watching Search with Candour. I'd love to hear what you're up to. As I mentioned at the top of the show, please do like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Go and check out our newsletter, which is coreupdates.com. You can go and get all of the most important SEO news every single week straight to your inbox on a Monday morning. And you can go to searchnorwich.org to check out our upcoming conference, which is on the 24th of September. So stay tuned for that. Go and use my link down below. You'll get a discount. You can get tickets for less than £100 if you use that discount code. And in the meantime, I will see you next week. Thank you and have a lovely week.